headquarters in New York, along with Stephanie Ramos.
Our nonstop coverage of Hurricane Florence continues right now. That hurricane expected to make landfall very soon on the North Carolina coast.
And these are some of the scenes we've seen in the overnight hours. It is causing quite a bit of damage to the area and quite a bit of flooding. We've learned, most noteworthy, about 70 people being rescued from a hotel in the town of Jacksonville. Officials say a large hole was found in the building, and some cinder blocks were crumbling. 70 people rescued there in that hotel.
And hurricane force winds making it challenging for our emergency responders to get those people them out. But right now, we want to check in with ABC's Emily Rao, who is in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Good morning. Hurricane Florence is inching inland, but causing major problems here in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. As you can tell, the wind's really picking up and the rain riding down in sheets. Florence is moving less than 10 miles per hour inland, but the wind coming with it 10 times as fast.
Once these winds start blowing, at that tropical storm rate, it will be virtually impossible for the rescuers to get in to rescue you.
Storm force winds now blast the area hundreds of miles away, ripping off this gas station canopy in Texas Beach, North Carolina. As first responders, 280,000 people now at least without power. Emily Rao, ABC News. Now back to you.
And we should mention that number has grown to more than 300,000. That's just in Wilmington, or in North Carolina alone. This is a live picture. This is where Ginger Z was standing moments ago, and you can see the rain and the wind just coming down and hitting hard right there in Wilmington.
Winds now gusting to 91 miles per hour. That is from the National Weather Service. 91 miles per hour there in Wilmington, North Carolina.
And in Jacksonville, just north of there, they're forecasting rain coming down at a pace of 3 inches an hour. It's just absolutely remarkable. Derek Waller of our New York station, WABC, has made his way to Jacksonville and has this report. Derek.
Here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, we're seeing some of the heaviest wind and rain of the day. I'll tell you, we're standing next to this building that's blocking the wind, but you can see down there that fierce wind pushing those trees sideways. But really, that is the secondary story. The main water that Florence is going to produce. Already, we've been seeing some heavy flooding in parts of coastal areas of North Carolina. And that storm surge, expected to be between 9 and 13 feet, that could really be deadly. And that water is going to continue for a couple of days. Florence could sit over North Carolina through the weekend. Back to you.
That's the troubling thing there indeed. Our thanks to Derek Waller of WABC as we continue to look
from Morehead City, North Carolina. That lasting storm that is going to hover over the Carolinas for quite some time. This new video coming into us from Morehead City, North Carolina.
And there have been reports for several hours now that we've been there that there have been some structural damage, and it's really difficult to tell in the overnight hours when these storms hit. When daylight comes, which will just be about, I'd say, 6:45 for the Carolina coast, that's when it's really going to set in on how bad this has been. Mind you, the storm is still hitting hard, so probably not a good idea for many people to go out to survey the damage as yet. But I imagine, though, Sam, with the daylight coming, maybe it's possible and might be a little bit safer for those rescue crews to be able to get out there and try to get to some of those people who are right now desperately trapped.
The difficult thing about this is rescue crews cannot put themselves in the kind of danger that is ongoing in this storm right now. And remember, that was well broadcast to people who decided to stay where they were in place. Now, that doesn't count the people who got involved in inland flooding, like in New Bern, where the storm created such a problem in that area. But still, the situation is it's not safe for first responders to get out there when we're in the middle of a storm, just like what you saw. And so that's why they're telling people, you just have to wait.
Yeah.
You gotta wait till it's safe enough.
In least the last 10 minutes or so, get a sense of where the storm is, what any sort of movement we've kind of noticed. We've seen those wind gusts up to 100 mile an hour now in Wilmington, North Carolina.
And it's a great thing to point out because, 97 mile per hour wind gusts on the buoy, 91 mile per hour wind gusts, and everyone's going, wait, this was a 90 mile per hour storm, but we've got gusts up to 100 miles an hour. It's 90 miles per hour steady winds, sustained winds. So even in that, you're going to get gusts well above that mark. So you could easily have gusts above 100 miles per hour in these places, and that's the kind of gust that after a building or a tree or a pole, power pole has been whipped by 90 mile per hour winds, to get a gust of 100, 110, that's the kind of thing that just takes everything right down. So the gusts above the category of the storm are certainly possible, and we will see them for the rest of the day. In that line, if you follow that red all the way around, if you were with us when Ginger Z was live on the air in that shot, she was in that red zone. That red zone passed right over her. That's the worst part of the storm that she actually broadcast to you, showed you the eye wall of the storm as it was moving on shore in Wilmington. So you got a chance to see that live. It's not something that happens every day on television, and Ginger was standing there showing you the effects, the worst effects of this storm. So there's the rain. We expect more of it. The other thing I want to show you, Stephanie, look at this line that goes through Cape Lookout and goes all the way back into Jacksonville. So see, that's still that yellow and orange area. They're in that band. Thank you very much for widening out a little bit, because I wanted to see New Bern. New Bern is in a little break from a band. It's a break that they have not had for 5 or 6 hours now. So it doesn't mean that they're not getting rain and they're not getting wind. They are, but they're not in the worst banding that's coming on shore right now. That's reserved for Jacksonville, who's getting it, and also Wilmington. And you just look for those shades of the orange and yellow and red to see where the worst part of this storm is.
And Sam, this storm several miles wide, affecting, of course, the big concern that we've seen throughout the morning is the flooding. Once that water makes its way into these towns, it's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, we have about 1 million people underneath the hurricane warnings of this storm, but more people are going to be affected. You're absolutely right, 70 areas, and it doesn't have to be the hurricane force winds to be a problem for these people. We're talking about the entire state of North Carolina, the entire state of South Carolina having problems with flooding, and there will be some areas, the areas that are under those bands that you're looking at right now on that radar, that see this situation, and that is the kind of flooding that North Carolina has never seen before. It is the possibility that we will get well above 15 inches of rain in some of those areas, and we already have in some of those areas overnight. We just haven't had a chance to measure them well. But when we do get a chance to measure them, you'll see we got more. And I say that because early, within the first 6-hour period of this storm, we had 12, 13 inches of rain. So we've had more than 15 inches of rain in a lot of locations. We won't know until we're able to measure it, how much rain we've had, and it is possible that we'll see up to 40 inches of rain in some communities who stay under those bands for long periods of time.
When I was a kid, when I was younger, it seemed as if we always talked about the wind speed, and that seemed to be the important factor. And later, in more recent years, it seems as if the flooding has become more of the issue. Why is that? Does it have to do with the topography or how we're building? Why is that the flooding has become more of the killer?
There are some storms that really don't have a lot of rain with them that drive a lot of wind. There are some storms that move so quickly, and Ginger kind of talked about a little bit in her shot. We're used to seeing hurricanes move quickly. So they bring in a lot of rain, but then that rain drives right by as well. The issue with this storm is that it sits in place, and so that rain just stays on top of these people. I will admit that for years, and watch a hurricane move on shore, and then we go, okay, with satellites, with radar, with live cameras, with all of that, we've been able to follow these storms, understand a lot more what happens with them, and understand that they can be dangerous, deadly, disastrous as they move inland, and can be that way for days and weeks after they've made landfall and impact. So now we're much more aware of getting communities warned inland about the kind of effects that they will see from a storm like this days after it's made landfall.
It's great that the conversation has changed towards a flooding impact. I'll tell you, Wilmington is dealing with right now. That's just had 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Our Emily Rao is there in Wilmington. Emily, the situation there clearly deteriorating from the last time we saw you.
Yes, it is, Kenneth. Good morning. These winds are no joke. They've really picked up in the last 30 minutes or so. This is the first time needing to be rescued or the reports that you all mentioned and were talking about of people on the roof of their homes to be out and talk to that what is it? We have one set of sirens, but it's been a little bit even from that because at this point conditions are just too risky.
And Emily, do you have something to hold on to where you are right now? We know the wind has certainly picked up a lot since the last time we checked in with you.
Yes, Stephanie, thank you. Yeah, we are protected. We are near shelter if we need to run inside. So that's maybe give you some more perspective that I'm not even all the way out in the unprotected area. But we do have a place to hold on to and a great crew here with me, making sure that we're staying safe.
You can see the wind is out there in Wilmington, North Carolina.
I would say probably the last 30 minutes we've really gotten into the thick of it, and we were peeking at the radar, listening to you all talk about the movement. I can tell it just, right as it was that edge of the eyeball that was coming closer to us, the wind started picking a lot more. The sustained wind level was a lot higher, and I've had to sort of lean forward and hold on a little bit more often in the last, I would say, 20 minutes or so. My legs even getting a little shaky from standing and just bearing the brunt of the wind on my back. But also the rain, I think, is heavier. It's swirling. It's sort of like what I would imagine inside of a washing machine to be like. So, and no sign of slowing down either. I'm seeing those traffic signals just sway in the wind like they could snap at any moment.
And Emily, we know that right now the North Carolina Department of Public Safety is reporting 340,000 customers without power right now. So it's incredible that you can still see that the traffic signals are going. You still have power there where you are. The lights are still on there. Where Ginger's located, it's still in Wilmington. A different story. So have you seen what other, aside
This is
from...
Ginger's live shot there. You can't see it, Emily, but the lights are on. At least the generators are working, and the wind is really blowing there. What have you noticed as far as transformers exploding where you are? What have you seen?
Well, we, again, I think are pretty protected, maybe even more so than we realize. Right around the corner, I know all the trees are down, so there's that to consider. But I think it speaks to just the gusts of wind where we are. I mean, there's a big brick column right next to me, so that's really kind of sheltering a little bit. But also up on a hill, so that shields us a little bit. But it's really from block to block, and depending on what is standing in the way of this wind, it's sort of touch and go. You don't know what's going to happen. For now, things are holding steady. There's some buildings behind me across the street, and they're all boarded up, but the awnings, those are really rattling and seems like they're getting looser as well. So keeping a very close eye on it to make sure that we're safe.
All right. Emily Rao there in Wilmington, North Carolina, where it is really starting to hit hard as well. And as you look at the radar, there's one thing that, Sam and I have gone back and forth a little bit on this morning, but he's the one with the meteorology. Yeah. And I don't. Okay, so to me, I would say that it has made landfall based on just looking at it. But apparently the official folks, when 25% of the eye has made it on shore, that's when official landfall is. And we haven't gotten that as yet. You say landfall is when?
Look, after 35 years doing this, sometimes I make up my own rules.
Did you start as a...
No, don't start. So I've always said, look, the storm has made landfall when the eye wall comes in. The Hurricane Center and those who are official and meteorologists who are sticklers for detail will say when the center of the storm, or like you said, 25% of the storm is on shore. So there will be a debate with the storm about whether or not it has made landfall completely yet, because you can see the center of circulation where it is. And again, the Hurricane Center kind of expects that part of the circulation, if not most of it, will stay offshore for a little bit, and it may wobble around, bounce back out, it may come back in a little bit. So we're going to be playing eye-wall games with this storm for a while.
But I do have a technical question about that. At this point, with a little bit of the eye on shore, is it interacting enough to weaken it?
Yes. The regular wisdom or the normal wisdom with a storm like this is it will continue to circulate if it has water to feed on, if the entire center of circulation is over water. Once part of the circulation gets on land, it gets disrupted. And you begin to see the category come down usually. You begin to see the winds come down usually. I say usually because this storm hasn't behaved the way you would normally expect a storm to behave from the get-go. So this storm, again, the Hurricane Center says they expect it to maintain Category 1 strength for a while longer. It does look like to me that it's shredding a little bit. It's going to take a lot of effort for those storms to come back into a circular position, but I'm not going to go against them. If they're going to say that, I'm going to stay with that, and I'm going to tell people to expect a Category 1 storm for the entire day today. If we get lucky and this thing has moved onshore enough to disrupt a little bit and weaken, boy, that's good news for all of us. That's good news for everybody. But expect, just like we told you to leave and prepare and expect for a worse storm, expect that this storm will stay at Category 1 because the last couple of updates from the Hurricane Center says they think so.
And even if it weakens, there's still that high risk of flash flooding for the Carolinas into
that
Saturday.
That doesn't go away,
spreading into Virginia for Sunday.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Those waves.
Wow.
Those are huge. We're going to try to figure out exactly how big those wave reports are, but it's just from someone who's looking on right now, that is very, very impressive. This is well north of the center of the storm. The storm is just near these being the Outer Banks of North Carolina, which is completely shut down right now to many visitors. Gio was saying it'll cost about $40 million in lost business. Many are saying at the end of the day, this will be a $170 billion storm for this entire country.
Extensive damage there in that area.
Yeah.
Well, earlier we did hear from ABC's Amy Robach, who was being battered by wind and rain. Let's check in with her.
We have wind gusts over 80 miles per hour right now, and we are in a very safe structure here. We're in a parking garage about 5 floors up. Just saw another transformer explode. We're on generator power here. Anyone who has any kind of light is on generator power. We watched our hotel lights go dark just a short while ago, and we've been seeing more transformers explode across the sky. Wilmington is in the dark at this hour. So many people, hundreds of thousands of people in the state have already lost power, and this is just the beginning, unfortunately. The strong winds have come in, but the rain is going to be the big story here in the state of North Carolina, at least for now. We have several rivers that will crest after not hours of rain, but days of rain. The next high tide is a couple hours from now, and we'll be able to reassess just where the status of these rivers are. We already know some towns in this state have begun to flood up in New Bern, and that is a concern here in downtown Wilmington. We have to say yesterday we were walking around, it was a ghost town. I would say the majority of residents are evacuated. That is absolutely a good thing. We had a transformers exploding all across the night sky. We will continue to update you on the deteriorating conditions here in Wilmington, North Carolina throughout the day. For now, for ABC News, here in Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm Amy Robach.
Amy, thank you for that report. Holding on tight to that, really. All right, well, joining us